Hello and welcome to Breakfast for Pancakes. I'm your host, PK Sullivan. Today I'm going to show you how to do a complete weeknight salmon dinner. We're talking about pan-seared salmon fillets on a bed of wilted spinach with an herbed couscous and a lemon butter garlic sauce to go on top. It's going to be great. Stick around. This video is courtesy of my patrons. This was the winner from last month's poll. If you would like to support and help decide what videos I make each month, head down below. There's a link to the Patreon. You can support there. Patrons of $10 a month or higher get to vote in the poll, but there are great rewards at every tier starting at just $3.
Ingredients for pan-seared salmon: salmon fillet, kosher salt, brown sugar, olive oil, spinach, cooking stock. The first step is to brine your salmon. Mix equal parts by volume of kosher salt and brown sugar. For this 1 pound fillet, I used a tablespoon of each. Completely cover the salmon with the salt-sugar mixture and put the salmon in the fridge, uncovered, for at least half an hour or up to 4 hours. Properly seasoning meat not only adds and intensifies flavors, but it also improves the texture of the final product. While the salmon brines in the fridge, it's time to prep your couscous. What you'll need is couscous, olive oil, cooking stock, and a mound of herbs and aromatics. Start by washing your herbs. I have a couple salad spinners for this. A little one shown here I use for herbs, and a big one for lettuces and other bulky greens. If you don't have one, you can just use a bowl and a colander, then dry the vegetables on a towel. Fill the bowl with water until the herbs are completely submerged, and swish them around a few times to dislodge any dirt stuck to them. Lift the greens out using the colander and discard the water. Now to do the spin part of salad spinner to fling the water off the veggies using centripetal force. Isn't science wonderful? Time to trim and chop those herbs. I'm using dill, cilantro, and scallions. The three pair nicely together and dill goes well with salmon. I'm going to double dip on that and pinch a tablespoon of dill for the sauce we'll make later. To trim the dill, I'm just removing the tasty frond-like leaf bits from the major stems. Anything that would go crunch, really. Discard the stems or use them to make a stock. They're full of flavor, but the texture doesn't work for this dish. How many herbs am I using here? I'll be honest, I don't know. This couscous is inspired by Samin Nosrat's book Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, in which she discusses the difficulty she had writing Persian recipes for a Western audience. There's no good way to measure the amount of herbs used in her family's recipes. By volume isn't practical. Saying bunches is too imprecise, as it changes grocer to grocer. She settled on mounds of herbs. There is definitely a mound of dill going into this couscous, with a lesser mound of cilantro. I trimmed the cilantro in much the same way. Cut off the thickest parts of the stems before mincing the leaves. Again, if you have a use for them, that's great. There's a lot of flavor there. Mine went to Mama the bunny rabbit. When I trim scallions, I like to trim off the root end and also the tops of the leaves. They've usually gotten dried out and discolored. It's not just a bad presentation, but they just don't taste right. We're otherwise using the whole scallion. Slice the greens thinly and add them to the pile of herbs. Then slice the white part thinly and set it aside. When you're done, you should have a lot of herbs. Pour the couscous into a large bowl. Add the olive oil and stir until it's evenly distributed. Every grain of couscous should be covered. This is absolutely key for making a light, fluffy couscous. Stop when the texture kind of resembles wet sand. Now stir in the sliced scallion whites. Get those mixed in well. The scallion whites and the couscous are the only two ingredients that need to be cooked in this dish, so we're going to cook them together. The delicate herbs will be added after cooking. If you want to add ingredients that require more cooking, like peas or chopped carrots, boil those in the cooking stock as you heat it. Moving on, wash the spinach. Here's my big salad spinner being put to use. These things really are time savers. If you have space, I highly recommend picking one up. The little one I used for the herbs was only $5 at IKEA. Trimming the spinach is as easy as plucking the stems off from the leaves. No chopping necessary. One last dish to prep, and that's the garlic butter sauce. You'll need butter, garlic, lemon juice, dill. Just pinch about a tablespoon of dill from the mound you minced earlier. Fresh squeezed lemon juice is best, but don't sweat it if all you've got is bottled. Go ahead and mince the garlic with a microplane grater. After all that, your salmon has probably brined for half an hour, so it's time to rinse off any of the brine that's still stuck to the surface. Just run it under cold water and gently wash off any excess. Feel the salmon as you do this, paying close attention for any pin bones that might still be in the fillet. You'll want to remove those before cooking. Here's the salmon side by side with the fillet I bought the same day. It's just a little darker in color now that it's been brined, but the flesh is firmed up considerably and I know it's going to taste better. Lastly, slice your salmon into fillets of 6 to 8 ounces in size. This was about a pound, so I'm just cutting it in half.
Quick note on couscous, it's a pasta and it comes in a bunch of different varieties. The variety I use in this recipe is a medium grain couscous. It's actually ground pretty fine. I'd be surprised to see what fine couscous is. This is pretty small. Couscous does get much larger though. You can see here, comparatively, it is a much larger grain. It is going to take a while longer to cook and won't be as pillowy as what we're going for today. This is great. I love it. I use it in salads. But for this recipe, what you want is this nice, grainy, almost sandy texture of couscous. All right, that's it. Back to the recipe.
Get your pans ready. 2 saucepans and a 12-inch skillet. Add your cooking stock to 1 saucepan and bring it to a boil. The stock I'm using is a quick shrimp stock I made the night before. While that's going, preheat your skillet over high heat to searing temperatures. Once it's up to temperature, lightly brush the salmon with oil and add them to the skillet, flesh side down. We're doing this to brown the salmon and develop flavor. I highly recommend using a weight to press down the salmon. I use my chef's presses, link in the description, but if you have a bacon press that will work too, or even just a small heavy skillet like a 10-inch cast iron pan. Adding weight will ensure good contact between the salmon and the pan, which is how you'll develop flavors. Let these cook for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, flip the fillets to skin side down and weight them down again. Set your timer for another 2 minutes so we can start crisping up the skin. You can see we've developed nice browning across the entire tops of the salmon fillets. That's flavor you don't get if you don't sear on both sides. After 2 minutes, remove the weights, add 120 ml of water, and cover the skillet to trap the steam. This will speed the cooking of the fillets. We're looking to pull them off when they're about 120 degrees Fahrenheit at the center and let carryover heat do the rest. By this point, your stock should be boiling, so grab that and pour it over your couscous and scallion mixture. Stir it well and put a lid over the top to trap the steam. Let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes undisturbed before fluffing it with a fork. The carryover heat from the boiling stock will cook the couscous and scallions to perfection. With the salmon in the home stretch and the couscous cooking, get started on your sauce. Add your butter to the saucepan over high heat. Melt it and whisk frequently. You want to brown the butter to develop flavor, but you don't want to burn it. Once the foaming starts to subside and you see brown flecks forming, turn off the heat, add your minced garlic, and whisk like your life depends on it. Once the garlic is fragrant, add the lemon juice and keep whisking. Lastly, whisk in the minced dill and transfer the sauce to your serving vessel. When your salmon temps are right, use a fish spatula to remove the fillets. Really press down, get good contact with the skillet surface, and give it a swift push. You want to remove the salmon as smoothly as possible to keep the crispy skin as intact as you can. Set the salmon to the side. Reduce heat on your pan to low, add the spinach and a 1/4 cup of cooking stock, then cover the skillet. Let the spinach wilt for a couple minutes before removing it with tongs. Time to plate up.
Let's see how it is. Flakes nicely, looks nice and tender. Oh yeah, that's good. Developed a really nice brown crust with the sear. Butter sauce is really nice and decadent. The garlic really cooks up pretty heavily, even just going for a few seconds there. And it develops those sweet, nutty, garlicky flavors. It's not a sharp, fresh garlic. The couscous is big on herbs, as you might have expected. I love dill in this sort of like warm salad preparation. Pairs well with salmon. The lemon helps lift everything up. The couscous is cooked perfectly. It's soft and fluffy. Each granule is distinct. You don't have it clumping up or mushing together. Really nice, lightful. Really nice, light, and delightful. Crispy salmon skin loaded with couscous. That's cool. That's nice. Almost forgot about the spinach. Getting that butter garlic sauce on the spinach. Oh yeah, that's the way to go. The spinach here works. It helps add moisture. Salmon is salmon. It's nice and tender and moist. It's not a wet ingredient. Same with the couscous. It's plenty tender and fluffy, but there's not a sauce holding it together. Spinach adds so much more liquid to the plate. Yeah, crispy salmon skin. That's good. Oh, I didn't expect to eat that entire plate, but just a combination of the time of day and it being really good. I devoured it. Early dinner. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out independent creators such as myself so that we can continue making videos for you. I'll see you next time.